Rain pattered softly against the window, blurring the gray sky outside. The air in the study smelled faintly of old books and dust, the kind of scent that clung to a lifetime of memories. Emma moved slowly, her fingers brushing over the worn wooden desk her father had cherished. She was only there to tidy up, to pack away the things that had been left untouched since his passing. But as she slid open the bottom drawer, something caught her eye. Nestled between stacks of faded bills and yellowing newspaper clippings was an envelope, its paper brittle with age. It wasn't sealed, and across the front, her father's handwriting curved in the familiar, steady strokes she hadn't seen in years. Her breath caught. She picked it up carefully, as if afraid it might crumble in her hands. The edges were frayed, the ink slightly smudged, as though written in haste yet with deep thought. The weight of it felt heavier than paper had any right to be. A strange mix of anticipation and hesitation stirred in her chest. This wasn't just any letter, it was a message from the past, a voice she thought she'd never hear again. She slid the folded page from its envelope, her heart beating faster with each motion. The words waiting inside, written by the man she had loved and lost, seemed to pulse with a quiet urgency, as if they had been waiting decades for someone to finally read them. Her eyes scanned the first lines, and almost instantly, the world around her seemed to fade. The letter was addressed to someone named Michael, a name she didn't recognize. Her father's words were unpolished, almost hesitant, yet each one carried an aching sincerity. "I'm sorry for the things I said, and for the silence that followed," it began. The tone was unlike anything she'd ever heard from him, vulnerable, almost pleading. He spoke of a bitter argument, of years that had slipped away without a single word exchanged. He admitted he had been stubborn, too proud to reach out, but never a day had passed without thinking of his old friend. Emma felt a lump rising in her throat. She had always known her father as a man of few words, steady and composed, but here he was, open, raw, almost broken on the page. The letter wasn't long, but every sentence was thick with regret and an unspoken longing for reconciliation. At the end, there was no neat closure, only a hopeful line that lingered in her mind: "If this ever reaches you, know that I never stopped caring." Emma set the paper down on her lap, staring at the rain streaking the window. Whoever Michael was, he had clearly mattered deeply. And for reasons she couldn't yet explain, Emma felt an undeniable pull to find out what had happened between them. Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the letter wasn't meant to stay hidden forever. The name Michael echoed in her mind like an unanswered question. She tucked the fragile page back into its envelope and carried it to the kitchen table, where she opened her laptop. The glow of the screen lit her determined face as she began typing the name into search bars, cross-referencing it with her father's hometown, old workplaces, and even the alumni pages of his high school. Hours slipped by. She called a few of her father's old friends, voices crackling with age and memory on the other end of the line. Most had lost touch long ago, but one remembered a Michael, said he used to live just a few streets away, until life pulled them apart. That lead took her deeper into online records, public directories, and faded obituary archives, her heart lurching every time a date or detail didn't match. Finally, she stumbled across a listing in a local nursing home directory: a Michael Turner, age 82, residing less than an hour away. She stared at the screen, her pulse quickening. Could this be him? Emma glanced toward the envelope resting on the table. She didn't know what she hoped to accomplish, but something in her heart whispered that this letter still had a journey to complete, and maybe she was the one meant to deliver it. The nursing home was quiet except for the soft hum of distant televisions and the faint scent of lavender cleaner lingering in the air. Emma clutched the envelope in her hand as she followed a nurse down a hallway lined with family photos and handmade decorations. Her stomach tightened with every step, unsure how an old stranger might react to the sudden arrival of a message from decades past. When they reached the small room, the nurse gave a gentle knock before opening the door. Inside, an elderly man sat by the window, the afternoon light spilling across his weathered face. He turned slowly, his eyes curious but cautious. "Mr. Turner?" Emma's voice was soft, almost unsure. I think you knew my father." The name she spoke made him sit straighter, his gaze sharpening. Before hesitation could root her in place, she crossed the room and held out the letter. "I found this in his desk. He never sent it." Michael's hands trembled as he accepted it. The moment his eyes landed on the handwriting, a gasp escaped his lips. He opened it slowly, reading in silence while Emma stood nearby. When he reached the end, his shoulders shook. A tear slipped down his cheek. "All these years," he whispered, voice breaking. "I thought he hated me." Emma felt her own throat tighten. "He didn't. He just never found the courage to send it." Michael sat back in his chair, the letter resting in his lap as though it were something sacred. His eyes, still wet, seemed to drift far away, chasing memories Emma could only imagine. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, with a faint, wistful smile, he looked at her. "Your father was my best friend," he said quietly. "We built half our lives side by side. When we stopped talking, it was like losing a part of myself." His voice cracked, but there was a softness in it now, a release of something heavy he'd been carrying for decades. Emma reached across and gently took his hand. "I think he hoped, even after all that time, you'd know he still cared." Michael's fingers tightened around hers. "You've given me back my friend," he murmured. "Even if it's only in memory, it's enough." The late afternoon sun poured through the window, bathing the room in warm gold. Emma felt an unexpected peace settle over her, as if by delivering this letter, she had stitched together a piece of her father's unfinished story. As she stood to leave, Michael placed the envelope back in her hand. "Keep it," he said with a smile. "It belongs to you now." Emma walked out into the fading light, her heart full. Sometimes love doesn't arrive when we expect it, but when it finally does, it still has the power to heal.